Pape has just released Arc 7 Chapter 97, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 96 epilogue summary. Anyways, let's begin. The battle for the Imperial City was reaching the climax in every corner. The cloud-clad cloud dragon descended into the snowy sky. Red-hot flames lashed out at the sky, covering it red. The stone dolls battled with the desperate soldiers. However, for a brief moment, a white light erupted from the Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace is made from the purest form of mana crystal and houses a weapon known as the Mana Crystal Cannon. It was the trump card of the Crystal Palace, and it could easily ensure the victory or defeat with a single shot. Only a few people knew of its existence. Abel of course knew about it as he was the Emperor. Dicker Ottoman was informed of the existence of the magic cannon by Abel, and Priscilla also knew of the existence of the cannon. In short, very few people knew it existed on the rebellion side. The situation in the capital was most likely very similar, with the false emperor, the prime minister, and Meguro knowing the secret of the royal palace. The cannon can shoot 3 times, however Abel deduces that it will only ever shoot once. As the cannon is the trump card for Wallachia, it shouldn't be emptied, and it should have some ammo saved up just in case it's needed in the future. To ensure that the magic cannon attacks and shoots, Abel sent an elite squadron where there was a weak point, which was the third apex. The third apex was of course where Meguro was, which means that if the cannon was to shoot out, it would wipe out the rebels, but it wouldn't actually harm Meguro because the only things there were stone dolls, which could easily be recreated. Therefore Dicker Ottoman and his men charged in. The magic cannon fired, releasing a white light. However, a black light immediately engulfed the shot. Everyone watching was dazed. Even Abel was confused. However, he recovered very fast and signaled to his men to go forward as planned. The men with Abel were a part of Dicker Ottoman's squadron. Abel informs them to move quickly and to save Dicker Ottoman. As the men move out towards the third apex, Abel mutters that if Dicker Ottoman is alive, that means he still has a role to play. Abel touches his mask and states that soon it will be his turn to play a role, and he orders a soldier to launch a magic cannon into the air. With that, Abel stares at the third apex and mutters, "Who are you? Who is trying to move the board from the west?" The scene changes. The Prime Minister was shocked at what happened. Of course, even if they were against the real Emperor, the existence of the trump card of the royal palace, the magic cannon, was known to the real Emperor. However, even if the real Emperor knew of the existence of the magic cannon, the strength of the cannon was unparalleled. However, the real Emperor, Vincent, somehow managed to defuse the shot, so that must have been a trump card that he had planned in advance. Despite that though, the Prime Minister tells his men to load another shot into the magic cannon. He would have to use his authority as the Prime Minister to ensure victory. However, before they could load the cannon a second time, a soldier then shouted to the Prime Minister and pointed at a signal in the air. The Prime Minister looked at the signal and tried to understand its purpose. It could be possible that it was a signal to the soldiers on the front line. However, that sort of signal was unreliable, so the Prime Minister assumes that it's a signal for the reserve forces. However, the Prime Minister is skeptical. Could a reserve force exist? The Prime Minister looked westward and was stunned, seeing countless flying dragons in the air, before he exclaimed, "Selena Dracoi." The flying dragons, led by Serena, were very strong. However, the Prime Minister had their own flying legion, the dragons called forth by Madeline, and not only that, the Sky Dragon Meteora was also now hovering around the airspace. As the Prime Minister grasped the battlefield, he scanned and found another group of individuals, but what shocked him was the crest they held. He looked at the flag and then mutters, "Is that a star?" With that, the scene changes. We see Subaru and his gladiator group as they chatter behind him. We see Lewis cling onto Subaru crying. Subaru can't shake off Lewis since Lewis has done so much for him, and Subaru tells Lewis that he'll speak to her later. After all, Lewis has done so much for him, and he has to atone for that. Subaru then calls out to Beatrice. Her look was not suited to the battlefield, considering the dress she was wearing, and she was fading away. But despite that, she called out Subaru's name. Subaru, hearing his name from Beatrice, reminds him that his name is not in fact Natsuki Schwartz, but instead Natsuki Subaru. Tanza then speaks and shocks Subaru. Tanza gestures to Beatrice and Lewis, who are now occupied with Subaru, and states that they need to move on since they lack time. Of course, Tanza is emotionless as she says this. Subaru apologizes and says that he is sure that Yona is on the battlefield. After all, Tanza was a follower of Yona, so she followed Subaru in order to reunite with Yona. Beatrice asked who this cheeky deer girl is, and Tanza says that she was looking after Mr. Schwartz, and she is called Tanza. Beatrice says that is all good, but Tanza is relieved of her duties and no longer needs to look after Subaru, as she will be the one that takes care of Subaru now. As Tanza and Beatrice start to argue, Subaru breaks them up, stating that they're all on the same side. However, Tanza says that Beatrice started it. Subaru tells Beatrice to apologize, but Beatrice gets mad again because Subaru mentions Tanza first. However, before they could start another argument, Gustav interrupts them and wants to know what's going on. Subaru introduces Gustav and explains that Beatrice and Lewis are with him. Subaru knows that even though he has changed, as in becoming smaller, he is still Subaru, but his memories of Beatrice are fuzzy. However, he is optimistic that he will be fine once his body is returned back to normal. However, Subaru looked at Beatrice and she had a frown on her face. Subaru then asked Beatrice what was wrong, and Beatrice states that she knew that Subaru had no way to drain the mana from his body while she was away, but this amount. She then continues to press harder on Subaru's body, and before she could confirm the amount of mana Subaru had, a sound rings out. We see that this sound was from Hyan, who was pointing at Cecilus, who ran towards the battlefield. Subaru then tells Lewis to let go of him and states that he won't teleport anywhere or disappear. With that, Lewis lets go. Beatrice stays with Subaru because Beatrice doesn't want to let go, and Tanza also stays with Subaru because Subaru needs her by his side for something. Subaru then declares that the Pleiades squadron should move out. We see that Subaru's group start a war chant, and Beatrice asks what Subaru is going to do. And Subaru states he will ruin the war that his father has started. And with that, the chapter ends. So, we are now into the final volume of Arc 7. Tabe has confirmed that these are the last stretch of chapters, so we are coming to the end now. It seems like there is something interesting about Subaru's mana, or the amount of mana in his body. Again, it seems that Beatrice didn't get to say what she wanted to say because Hyan shouted out and interrupted her. Pardon me. But yeah, decent chapter. It looks like Selena has joined the fray. Cecilus ran into the battlefield, so we'll see where this goes anyway. It's the first chapter, nothing much really to say.